This is part 3 of my series exposing what really happened in the 2020 election. Last video, I showed how Trump's own investigation team claimed that there was no fraud, and then Trump fired them and hired a new investigation team that did claim that there was fraud in public, but then in court claimed that they had no evidence. This video, I'll show how not a single person in Fox News believed that there was fraud, and yet they aired the claims anyway because they were worried about losing ratings. The evidence for this was revealed in a defamation case between Dominion and Fox News, where Dominion proved that Fox News knowingly spread lies about Dominion. As always, the links for the evidence I'm showing you will be in the description, so you can check for yourself to make sure I'm not showing anything out of context. Now to start, let's go over what Tucker Carlson said in public.
So that's a long way of saying we took Sidney Powell seriously. We had no intention of fighting with her. We've always respected her work.
And now his emails behind the scenes. It was awesome. Sidney Powell is lying. Fucking bitch. She's a psychopath. She's getting Trump all spun up and has zero evidence. And then, yeah, you can read the rest of what he said. It doesn't really seem like he respects her a whole lot. Now, this is what Lou Dobbs had to say in public.
Whether it's Dominion, EBS, whatever the company, voting machine company is, it is the most ludicrous, irresponsible, and rancid system imaginable in the world's only superpower. We look like a complete nation of fools. This is an assault on the core of a democracy, any democracy.
Cyber Pearl Harbor. Sidney Powell reveals groundbreaking new evidence indicating our presidential election came under massive cyber attack orchestrated with the help of Dominion, Smartmatic, and foreign adversaries. And now when he's questioned under oath in court, he tells a different story. They asked him, in the moments after your 5 o'clock broadcast on December 10th, were you, Lou Dobbs, concerned that Sidney Powell had failed once again to meet the expectation of providing evidence to support her claims? And he said, I was disappointed, yes. So in public, when he referenced that interview with Sidney Powell, he said there was new groundbreaking evidence. And then in court, when he was asked how he felt about that same interview, he said he was disappointed with the lack of evidence. Now, when Fox News asked Sidney Powell for the evidence that Dominion was flipping votes, this is the entirety of the evidence that she was able to provide them. An email from this random person that says, a piece of code was inserted such that once ballots were fed into the database for tabulation, up to 3% of votes for Mr. Trump would automatically switch to Mr. Biden. That's it. Her evidence that Dominion was switching votes was someone claiming that Dominion was switching votes. Now here's Maria, another host for Fox News who interviewed Powell, being asked about that email. Before you put Ms. Powell on your show, when you had this document in your possession and had sent it to your producer, did you confront Ms. Powell with this document and ask her anything about it? She said, no, I have no idea what it even means. It's as I said, it's not evidence. I don't know what it is. She then went on to agree that the email was nonsense and inherently unreliable. So Maria sees the evidence for Sidney Powell's claim as being non-existent, inherently unreliable, and nonsense. So what does she decide to do with that claim as soon as she figures this out?
Sidney, we talked about the Dominion software. I know that there were voting irregularities. Tell me about that.
They had this all planned, Maria. They had the algorithms, they had the paper ballots waiting to be inserted if and when needed.
Definitely not talk about how the claim has no evidence. Instead, let her make the claim to millions of people in the largest news network in America and not provide any pushback whatsoever. So why? Why air these claims if you don't believe they have any evidence? Well, this is what Sean Hannity, another Fox host, had to say in a private email. Respecting this audience, whether we agree or not, is critical. Fox has spent the month spitting at them. A senior producer for Fox says, right, our best minutes from last week were on the voting irregularities. Maybe it's true that when Sean Hannity was asked about the people that he considered to be effing lunatics, he said the whole narrative that Sidney was pushing, he didn't believe for 1 second. Because regardless of if it's true, we need to own the Dominion story, according to Sean. Yes, there is this thing called the brain room where we check on facts, and yes, we regularly use the brain room to keep in touch. And maybe the brain room was concluding that claims about Dominion switching or deleting votes was 100% false. And maybe the brain room fact-checked Trump when he claimed that Dominion deleted 2.7 million Trump votes nationwide. And maybe their conclusion conclusion was that there was no evidence of widespread fraud in the 2020 election or of any major problems with Dominion systems. Senior Vice President David Clark said he did not believe that the 2020 election was stolen. And yes, other Senior Vice President Tommy Firth said the Dominion shit is going to give him a fucking aneurysm as many times as he's told Laura it's BS. Senior political analyst Ed Rollins might have said that he's seen or heard of no evidence of fraud and that the conspiracy theories put forth by Rudy and Sidney are all bullshit. Co-chairman Rupert Murdoch might have said that he seriously doubted any claim of massive election fraud. Fox board member Paul Ryan might have said that his advice was to stop spouting election lies. And sure, the CEO of Fox might believe that Joe Biden was legitimately elected the president of the United States. The important thing is that we don't piss off our viewers that do think the election was stolen. If we want to keep this alive, we really need Rudy or Sidney, regardless if we believe them. Honestly, we should be asking for Rudy and Sidney every day. One more time, respecting the audience, whether we agree or not, is critical. Newsmax was able to support Trump by airing baseless charges of election fraud. So there's an opening for us to do that too. We just can't play it as openly as Newsmax. So to summarize, we have leaked emails and court testimony of the entirety of Fox News, all claiming that they did not believe any of the election fraud claims by Sidney or Rudy, but they had to air them anyways to keep their ratings up because that's what Newsmax was doing. Ironically, I showed in the last video that Sidney or Rudy didn't even believe themselves that the election was stolen. So Fox News was able to convince over 60% of Republicans that the election was stolen, even though Fox News themselves didn't believe the election was stolen, and they were able to do that by interviewing people who are claiming the election was stolen, even though the people that they were interviewing themselves didn't believe that the election was stolen. And all that came at the small price of $787 million. Was it worth it?